House Speaker Nancy Pelosi continues to demonstrate that she's saltier than the Dead Sea when it comes to freshman Democrats. In fact, earlier she was attacking freshman Democrats for the way that they voted against giving Border Patrol billions of dollars with no strings attached. And that was in an interview with Maureen Dowd in the New York Times. Now, Politico is reporting that Pelosi had a caucus meeting, closed door meeting, where she decided to continue going after these individuals who continue to challenge her failure to lead, her failure to actually resist Trump's policies. In fact, she has only enabled Trump when it comes to the treatment of migrants. Let me make the case. Now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been very clear in her reasoning as to why she voted against the appropriations bill that would give Border Patrol over $4 billion, $4.6 billion. And she tweets about it. She's very open and transparent, saying DHS and ICE are flagrantly violating congressional orders just as we said they would. Yet it is Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib, and I that were wrong to oppose throwing more money to abuse agencies, right?
So I want to give some context there. Because there's two different proposals that the four of them voted against. One was the Republican proposal, which eventually over 100 Democrats voted against, and Nancy Pelosi needed Republican votes to pass. In fact, more Republicans voted for Nancy Pelosi's ultimate legislation than Democrats did. So Pelosi must be so proud. I'm sure she's gonna get a bipartisan pat on the back from all the mainstream media. But that's a Republican bill that Pelosi passed, period. It was a Republican bill in the Senate and majority Republican in the House, and Trump was thrilled to have it with no conditions. But there was also an earlier House version, and those four voted against that one too, because that House version said, okay, here are conditions, but they're not really conditions. They rely on the goodwill of the Trump administration.
Right.
That's why AOC gives that tweet. How's that goodwill of the Trump administration working out for you?
Exactly, and I love that she brought that up because like you're gonna attempt to do this honor system with the Trump administration. I mean, they have
what honor?
Oh, exactly, they are as dishonorable as anyone could possibly be. But Pelosi took notice of how AOC uses social media, and it's not just AOC, it's other freshman Democrats, how they use social media to communicate with their constituents and to also give a little transparency into why these decisions are being made. And so in a closed door meeting, Pelosi said, quote, "I'm here to help the children when it's easy and when it's hard. Some of you are here to make a beautiful pate, but we're making sausage most of the time."
Okay.
Oh, okay, what?
Yeah.
All right, so that was strange.
All right, so I want to talk about that too. So she's being dismissive in such a hilariously elitist way with references to pate. Okay, I don't know, I guess I'm a barbarian. Is pate the thing with liver? Is that no?
I think so. I don't know. People put it on cheese plates.
Okay, so whatever, right? But to her, because remember Maureen Dowd, yeah, okay, the thing with liver, we confirmed it. we do a news show here. Okay, so the Maureen Dowd interview where Nancy Pelosi also took pot shots at AOC and other Just Democrats, Maureen Dowd was like, she's holed away in her bunker in her vineyard at Napa Valley. My guess is
things are tough there.
Yeah,
very tough.
She's not eating sausage there, she's eating pate, okay? So now she's referencing, of course, hey, you don't wanna see the sausage getting made, that phraseology, right? But that makes it seem like, oh, you guys are children. This is why she's talking down to them. Like, oh, sure, we'd all love to have our version of the bill, but I don't know if you know this. We have to compromise here to get things done in Congress.
No, it's
if I hear one more unbearable coward Democrat say that, as if they're like in their patronizing, demeaning way, not only to us, but now to the young freshman minority congresswoman. Like, oh, you might not know this, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ayanna Pressley. But here, we're making sausage, and there's other people, of course they know that. Of course we all know that. Stop being patronizing. It is unbearable. The question, and my question back to you, because apparently you don't know anything about how to actually get things done, Nancy Pelosi, is do you know that if you actually stood up for your own position, especially when you have leverage and you could control one of the branches of Congress, that you might actually be able to get concessions for your own side.
But here's the thing, Cenk, she would get concessions. I mean, she has a great deal of leverage in this case. I mean, the Democrats control the House, we all know that. She is House Speaker. And you have the Trump administration asking for more border control funding, right, in this appropriations bill. I mean, the whole point of electing Democrats to Congress and to the House is to make sure they control the House and they serve as a means to mitigate the damage that the Trump administration wants to do. What's the point if they're not actually gonna do what they're supposed to do? Like, what I would do if I were Nancy Pelosi is say, no, I am not going to sign on to this unless we have the safeguards necessary, unless we have improvements for the conditions of these migrants. I am not gonna throw away hard-earned taxpayer money at these facilities that have children die under Border Patrol watch. And I would do a press conference every single day, and I would apply pressure to the Trump administration. But that is not what she's interested in doing.
So look, it's a really fair argument as to whether Nancy Pelosi is not that bright, and she just really is terrible as a legislator, or she actually agrees with Trump and the Republicans almost all the time and goes, oh golly gee, there's nothing I could do. Trump, you win again in exactly what you wanted.
She's
Oops.
Scared. I think that's the answer. I think she's scared. I think she's worried that applying that pressure that I just spoke about is going to somehow hurt Democrats.
Okay, so now let me explain how you actually do this, because apparently you guys suck at your job. And let's not leave Chuck Schumer out of this, because he surrendered even more than Nancy Pelosi did. He was the original domino to fall. Chuck Schumer like talking tough about Acosta, et cetera. Now, yeah, spare me, okay? So when Trump said, hey, he was like, oh, that's how Schumer was, okay? Total and utter coward. So now, here's what you do, Schumer and Pelosi. You do a press conference like Anna said, and what do? You say, look, I'm gonna give you the money. I'm not gonna keep the money from you, but I wanna make sure that you're spending it in the right places, because in the past, you've taken money we've given and without permission, misappropriated to other places like your goddamn wall.
Bingo.
And it's not gonna happen on our watch. So at a bare minimum, look, this is the easiest thing in the world. You say, every kid's gonna get a mattress, every kid's gonna get soap and a shower every day, every kid's gonna get toothpaste. If you don't agree to that, have at it, Hoss. Come make your case. Come make your case to the American people that the kids should not have mattresses, that the kids should not have soap, and they shouldn't have showers. Go ahead, make your case. Make your case. I am gonna give you the money, but I'm not gonna give it to you until you not just promise it or do it on Scout's honor. Trump has no honor at all. Do you not know that, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer? No, these are our conditions and they are not negotiable. Until then, we're not passing it and it's on you.
And I just want to remind you all that Pelosi knows that she's in the wrong here. She knows, which is why she's being so incredibly defensive in her press interviews and in these closed door meetings with Democrats. Because remember, after the bill had been signed by Trump, he got the money that he wanted. What did Pelosi do? She releases a strongly worded letter toward Trump about how the conditions for these migrants needs to improve. What is your strongly worded letter gonna do? It's gonna do nothing.
Look, we got more from Pelosi in a second, but look, if you think strongly worded letters after you've already passed the legislation is the correct way to legislate, then you really should be fired immediately, because you don't know anything about legislating. After you've already passed the bill, your letter is irrelevant. My God, are you such a child that you don't know that, Nancy Pelosi? Or do you think that, and look, to be fair to her, it's not that she thinks all the American people are children. She just thinks the press is so compliant. They'll dutifully write that I wrote a strongly worded letter to Trump, and they'll pat me on the back, and I'll win again. And which is what leads us to the next thing that Pelosi said.
Yes.
Because she thinks, no, you're not allowed to go around the press. I own the press, I control the press. I'm allowed to go to the press, you're not allowed to fight back.
So this is the part that really stood out to me, because she's upset that members of Congress are turning to social media to communicate their differences with their constituents. So she says, you got a complaint, you come and talk to me about it, but do not tweet about our members and expect us to think that is just okay. So she had a full-on interview with Maureen Dowd in the New York Times where she very openly and clearly attacks freshman Democrats like AOC. So I don't know, I mean, maybe you should be a leader and quit with your negative commentary toward freshman members of the House if you don't want anyone to criticize you openly on Twitter. But with that said, I think the way that AOC has handled this and the way that she communicates with her constituents and Americans overall is incredibly important. This is the first time in a long time we have this level of transparency and honesty, and I think that it applies pressure to Pelosi. She doesn't like the fact that people on the left are now really starting to criticize the way her leadership style,
Okay, so a couple of things here. She says, you don't do it on Twitter, you come talk to me. What are you talking about? They came and talked to you. They talked to you 100 times. Every time you're like, no. Medicare for all? No, I sent my top staffer to go tell the insurance companies I got their back. Keep the money train going. We're never gonna do Medicare for all. Well, okay, we came and talked to you. What good did it do? You Green New Deal, they came and talked to you and you called it Green Dream or whatever. What good did it to come and talk to you? We came and talked to you about the $15 minimum wage. You said you were gonna do it. You said you were gonna do it the first 100 hours. Nothing. What good does it do to come talk to you when you work for the other side? When you constantly block all progressive policies and you constantly aid and abet the Republicans? It's like going and saying, oh, you should just go talk to George W. Bush or Dick Cheney or Donald Trump. Oh, if I just talk to them, oh, I see. So again, is that your idea of how legislation works? Childish, okay? Now, secondly, you're not allowed to use Twitter. I'm allowed to use the New York Times. Because the New York Times is subservient to the people in power. And let's be honest, they are. Now, New York Times does great investigative stories from time to time. But when it comes to their beloved establishment politicians, they never lay a glove on them. You want to go after a progressive, New York Times is your organization. They will smear a progressive day in, day out. Nancy Pelosi, oh, no, Nancy, what would you like to print? Oh, we need an interview. We need access, Nancy. Chuck, oh, you're so great, Chuck. What do you need? I'll do it for you. Oh, you want me to smear AOC? Of course, AOC is the worst. Doesn't understand anything, et cetera, et cetera. New York Times, you are miserable at this. Hey, New York Times, hey, did you ever think the over $500 million that Nancy Pelosi raised, maybe it had strings attached? Wow, that would require journalists and editors who gave a damn about power, where it resides, where it comes from, and have sophisticated look into politics. But you know what? The people that work at the New York Times, also children, going around like, well, I mean, Nancy Pelosi got all the money, and I'm sure that all those corporations gave Pelosi and Schumer money for their health or for charity, and they didn't want anything in return, because corporations, they don't want return on investment. New York Times, stop helping the powerful. You're supposed to hold them to account. So now Pelosi says, well, I own and control the media like New York Times, so that is the only place you're allowed to go. Oh, going around the mainstream media, which we've already corrupted, to the actual people? Unacceptable. How dare you tweet? No, put away the Twitter, right? Why do you think they're holding all those hearings? You think it's because they're worried that Facebook, et cetera, has other issues? No, they hate that they cannot control the media anymore, both Republicans and Democrats. And finally, it's time for a Justice Caucus. Let's go. I mean, look, I knew it from day one. Now, these are lessons hard learned by people, and they gave Pelosi every opportunity. They gave Schumer every opportunity. I told you, they're not on your side. Start the Justice Caucus now and build it. Okay, and let's find out who's on what side. If you're on Trump's side, you join Pelosi's caucus. If you're on the side of progressives, you join the Justice Caucus. Let's go today. Fire Pelosi and let's move on. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content at tyt.com/app.